We turn now from Ukraine to the voices of survivors of gun violence who testified Wednesday here in the United States on Capitol Hill before the House approved a package of limited gun reforms that's virtually certain to fail in the Senate, where Republicans have promised to filibuster. The House approved the reforms after lawmakers heard hours of harrowing testimony about the mass shootings in Buffalo, New York, and Uvalde, Texas. Kimberly Rubio testified alongside her husband, Felix, describing the morning of the massacre at Robb Elementary School before her 10-year-old daughter, Lexi, was killed, one of 19 children and their 2 teachers who died that day.
On the morning of May 24th, 2022, I dropped Lexi and Julian off at school a little after 7 a.m. My husband and I returned to the campus at 8 a.m. for Julian's award ceremony and again at 10:30 a.m. for Lexi's award ceremony. Lexi received the Good Citizen Award and was also recognized for receiving all A's. At the conclusion of the ceremony, we took photos with her before asking her to pose for a picture with her teacher, Mr. Reyes. That photo, her last photo ever, was taken at approximately 10:54 a.m. To celebrate, we promised to get her ice cream that evening. I told her we loved her and we would pick her up after school. I can still see her walking with us toward the exit. In the reel that keeps scrolling across my memories, she turns her head and smiles back at us to acknowledge my promise. And then we left. I left my daughter at that school, and that decision will haunt me for the rest of my life. Somewhere out there, there's a mom listening to our testimony, thinking I can't even imagine their pain, not knowing that our reality will one day be hers, unless we act now.
That's Kimberly Rubio testifying about her 10-year-old daughter, Lexi, who was killed. She writes for the local newspaper, the Uvalde Leader. Also testifying at Wednesday's congressional hearing was 11-year-old 4th grader Miah Cerrillo, who survived the mass shooting at Robb Elementary and told the panel after the shooter murdered her teacher and friend, she covered herself in her friend's blood in case the murderer returned.
She went to go lock the door, and he was in the hallway, and they made eye contact. And then she went back in the room and she told us, go hide. And then we went to go hide behind my teacher's desk and behind the backpacks. And then he shot the little window, and then he went to the other classroom, and then he went, there's a door between our classrooms, and he went through there and shot my teacher and told my teacher goodnight and shot her in the head. And then he shot some of my classmates and the whiteboard. When I went to the backpacks, he shot my friend that was next to me, and I thought he was gonna come back to the room, so I grabbed the blood and put it all over me. And
what did you do then when you put the blood on yourself?
Just stay quiet, and then I got my teacher's phone and called 911.
And what did you tell 911?
I told her that we need help and to send the police in our classroom.
If there was something that you want people to know about that day and about you, right? Or things that you want different, what would it be?
To have security.
Do you feel safe at school? Why not?
Because I don't want it to happen again.
And you think it's going to happen again?
That's Miah Cerrillo, survivor of the Robb Elementary School massacre. When she was asked, does she feel safe at school, she nodded no. When she was asked if she thinks a massacre will happen again, she nodded yes. And this is Dr. Roy Guerrero, the only pediatrician in Uvalde, Texas, who testified about arriving at the hospital to treat the victims of the shooting. When he saw one of his longtime patients alive, he went outside to tell her parents. That's when they asked him about their other child who was a student at Robb Elementary. Dr. Guerrero described what happened when he went back to check.
As I made my way there, I prayed that I wouldn't find her. I didn't find Elena. But what I did find was something no prayer will ever relieve. 2 children whose bodies had been pulverized by bullets fired at them, decapitated, whose flesh had been ripped apart, that the only clue as their identities was a blood-splattered cartoon clothes still clinging to them, clinging for life and finding none. I could only hope these 2 bodies were a tragic exception to the list of survivors. But as I waited there with my fellow Uvalde doctors, nurses, first responders, and hospital staff for other casualties we hope to save, they never arrived. All that remained was the bodies of 17 more children and the 2 teachers who cared for them.
Dr. Roy Guerrero, the only pediatrician in Uvalde, Texas, testifying before the House on Wednesday. The Senate is weighing whether they will pass any gun reform bills. Next up, we'll speak with the head of Right Wing Watch about what to expect at this first public hearing tonight of the House committee investigating Donald Trump's attempt to overturn the 2020 election and the deadly January 6th insurrection. Stay with us.